Reverse redacting the headlines. Jared, it's a morning of same old, and yet there are some interesting smaller stories. Did you find anything that caught your attention this morning?
Nothing really that caught my attention too much. Kind of the same old Trump Omarosa fight. That's a lot. There's more Alex Jones developments. He got suspended from Twitter for a week. So, yeah, just kind of slightly new twists on the same crazy people.
I wonder how much that affects his bottom line. You know, to be knocked off of Twitter for a week, like that could potentially be thousands of dollars, right? Maybe hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, I don't know, because I think where he makes most of his money is from product placement on his show. And
really?
So, yeah. So what he does is, he's got these like, I don't know specifics of what it is, but it's like it'll be like, stuff like, testosterone supplements or stuff like that. And so he'll pitch one, and to a certain extent, like, I mean, a lot of guys do, like Ben Shapiro. He's got, classier products to pitch on his, but they'll, take a break to say, well, we're sponsored by blah, blah, blah. This is why you need to buy blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But Alex Jones's stuff is more like, it's like, be a man, don't let the government turn you gay like the frogs. So, yeah. So it's probably like, some sort of like all natural bath soap when you're, out river bathing and things like that. But yeah, I think a lot of it's like, just like testosterone stuff, which, yeah, give him some more of that. He's too calm.
Oh, mercy. Yeah, that's, I guess you have to, I mean, you sell to your audience, right? I mean, if you're going to make money, and right. If his audience are interested in the frogs, saving the frogs from gaydom, then
right. Yeah. I don't know. That's probably kind of interesting mix, because I'm guessing it's probably not much of an environmentally friendly audience. But the frogs are just kind of the frogs are their version of the canary in the coal mine. If the frogs are being turned gay by the water, then they might be next.
So it seems like he's trying to funnel everybody to Tumblr. Have you ever been on Tumblr?
I have. Yeah, it's it feels like something in almost like a futuristic sci-fi movie, where they're just like these crazy, where you see them like go in like a crazy club.
Yes.
There's just these crazy pockets of Tumblr.
It's this like dingy, scary, dystopian place.
It really is. It really is. It feels like it should be like the dark web or something. It feels like it shouldn't even really be part of the regular internet.
Well, when people talk about the dark web, I think of Tumblr. That's what I think of. And because it really is, I use it a lot for marketing, for, search engine optimization, because you can, it used to be that you could build a profile and then build like thousands of followers.
Mm-hmm.
But man, it is that, you talk about slogging through some work, man. You gotta get through a lot of weird crap.
Yeah,
It's
kind of like I don't know. There's not like a great apples to apples comparison for it, but to me, I mean, I think of it as like, almost like Pinterest. Like if Pinterest is like the elves of Middle Earth, then Tumblr's like the orcs. It's been like twisted into, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's not even the orcs though. It's like the goblins that were rejected.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But it is a free market. That's what I was gonna say earlier. There is like a real freedom to it, but it's a good example of how free markets can get a little crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
So now Alex Jones is the king of the Tumblr, I guess.
Yeah, except that lines up like that. Those are two things that fit together to me. That makes perfect sense.
Gay frogs and Tumblr. Yeah, there's a definite correlation there. So I found an interesting article today. I felt I didn't want to get into too much of the
usual political scene.
So two things actually. The first was this woman who I forget what her name was. I don't think Katie Stubefield maybe. She's featured in National Geographic. She tried to commit suicide and she blew her face off and survived. And so it's just tragic situation. And now she's one of the youngest persons to get youngest people. She is the youngest person to get a face transplant.
Right.
I think that's fascinating to me. A face transplant. First of all, whose face is it? That's my first question.
Right.
Because it was interesting, like, the clickbaity title said something like, girl commits suicide, gets second chance with a new face. And I was like thinking, holy cow, did a girl commit suicide? They took her face and put it on somebody else?
No.
But this is a little bit more uplifting of a story.
Yeah.
Now, now she goes around. Now they have pictures of her, and it's not. It's so tragic, to see what she used to look like. But it is a lot better, of course, than sort of after she had the accident or the
right. Yeah, attempt. I mean, I think the photos. I saw a little bit of it, and it looked like, I guess, from the photos before that, she just lost so much of the looked like muscle and maybe even bone, I guess, underneath from her face from before, and so I guess they had to reconstruct a lot of that. I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, no, she didn't even have lips, a nose.
Right.
She blew all of this off.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing that they can, take parts from other people, they reconstruct the nose, and try to get. Yeah, they were talking a lot about how they had to train her. There's a lot. She's this is going to take a long time to acclimate to this new face.
Right.
It's more than just obviously look. She's going to have to learn how to use her lips. I'm sure talking. Yeah. Although she goes on tours and talks. She's goes on tours and warns children about the dangers of I want to say the dangers of suicide. I think people know the dangers,
right?
But the she talks about suicide and does some suicide prevention.
Yeah. I've seen a couple of stories like this before. I think there was if you remember, the lady who her face was basically torn off by the chimpanzee. You remember that?
Yeah.
And she I think she got a face transplant, and so I think that was one of the first times that I'd really seen that type of thing. And so it helps kind of I don't know, I guess it helps kind of normalize it somewhat. It still stands out, unfortunately. I mean, this will be like anything else, one of those things they have to, I guess, kind of perfect over time. But
right. She doesn't look normal. Like, it's not like they just
Right.
Face Off. It's not. We're not talking about Face Off.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. It's not a bad Nicolas Cage movie, but yeah. So it does help them. I guess whatever you can get with that is going to be a improve quality of life, though.
Yeah. I think specifically, I mean, not for looks, right? But for just functionality, her everyday life, being able to breathe and eat, and talk.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing that they can do this and improve her life this way.
Right.
So the other thing, so they came out with the top paying jobs in America. These are the 25 highest paying jobs in the U.S. right now. And I just thought it'd be interesting to go through them. Number one, what do you think it is?
I'm guessing tech or medical.
Yeah, medical. Physician. Actually, the top three are sort of medical. It's physician, pharmacy manager, pharmacist, and then it goes enterprise architect. I'm not really sure what that is. Enterprise architect, corporate counsel. So these are like pish posh consulting jobs, I'm sure.
Right.
Software development manager, physician assistant. That's really interesting to me. Chanda always wanted to be she's always, since she was a little girl, wanted to be a physician assistant.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my wife. So
there's I think that's kind of on the rise because hospitals don't have to pay physicians assistants as much as doctors, and so it seems like a lot of times nowadays, you go, and if you're just kind of looking for a general practitioner, you end up, if it's not a doctor that you've kind of had as your primary care doctor for years, if you just go to a hospital or something like that, you'll end up with a physician's assistant.
Yeah, and so you don't need 8 years of school for that. You don't need a residency. You need, I think it's like a 3-year intense 3-year program. But the pay difference is pretty significant. So physician assistant is ranked 7th. Physician primary is first is 195 on about 196,000. Physician assistants 108. There. So that's a significant difference.
Yeah. Although I don't know, that might be worth it to not have to go through that much school and residency and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. You probably pay about 100,000-200,000 just in schooling alone.
Well, I mean, just quality of
life.
Quality of life. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure doctors can make up the financial difference, but just quality of life.
Yeah. So you were completely right. They're all IT or health related.
Right. Yeah.
What is your take on that? Like, why is that?
I don't know if I know enough of the history of certain things to see, but I mean, just in terms of, now, of course, the software, the tech industry, you can just deliver such high returns on all that. And just kind of the same way with medical. I mean, it's when you've got people's lives at stake, obviously there's a lot of high dollar school that has to go into that, and what you're able to charge from that. So it's kind of hard to imagine. I don't know what in the future, if there's another industry that could, really kind of compete. I mean, of course, legal, but if there's, anything in the future that might be able to compete with tech, I mean, because of course, tech in the grand scheme of things is a somewhat new industry. I mean, in terms of the course of history. So
yeah, attorney is number 22. They make about 96 and a half there, 96,000 a year.
Yeah.
Tax manager 90 is they make 96.
Yeah, I kind of wish that I could go into a profession like that. I just it's too sterile, you know. It's just too
boring.
Yeah, I've got to have some sort of I figured out actually when I was in grad school, my first year of grad school for a clinical psychology master's, that I'm like, yeah, you know, I think the projects that I'm enjoying the most are kind of the creative projects here.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a limited amount of creative stuff with clinical psychology. So that was kind of at the point where I figured that that wasn't really the industry for me.
Oh, clinical psychology wasn't the
right.
Yeah. And it's not on this list.
Yeah, right. No, it wouldn't have, you know, I mean, you as a, you know, if you go into counseling or a psychologist, you know, you'll make good money. It's not going to be, you know, it's not going to compete with those kinds of jobs there, but you would make, you know, pretty good money with it. But yeah, I just couldn't do it.
So the one that sort of stick out to me, that is the plant manager.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm assuming they're talking about you know, a factory manager, right?
Mm-hmm. I would
not a manager of green plants, right?
Right. I would think so. Yeah. Yeah. It's a really important plant. if he's a plant manager,
there are some elite plants that need managing.
Right.
they have the fruit. You know, one of them could be the tree of life. So, you know.
Yeah, I could get into being a plant manager. I think if I was, I'd have to take care of them better than I have my own plants in my life. But if you deal with any kind of job with the public at any point, you I'm sure appreciate plants a whole lot more.
I don't know. You think psychology is boring? I just see like Mr. Miyagi like pruning this little, you know, like bonsai tree.
Right. Yeah. I don't know.
And then the other one is Scrum Master.
I do not know what that is.
So I kind of know what a Scrum Master is because I got a lot of friends in the consulting industry. But it is, you know what it's like a account manager, not account manager, but somebody who's there to sort of you got a company that is a bunch of software consultants. It's somebody to sort of take the temperature of the room and keep people on task. You know, set goals. The kind of the organizer of a room of software consultants.
Okay, gotcha.
I've thought it'd be kind of an interesting. I just like to be called a Scrum Master. Wouldn't that be awesome? Like, what do you do? Oh, I'm a Scrum Master.
Right. Yeah, that is a neat title.
It's neat. It's like master sounds really great, but you're the master of Scrum, so it's like
sounds like it should be a Tumblr page.
Bring us full circle.
Scrum Master's domain. You know?
I really want to. Oh man, I need to start a Tumblr page. Scrum Master. It really does.
It does. Yeah.
All right. Well, that does it for today's redacting the headlines. Reverse redacting the headlines.
That's right.
Let us not mince words here. Do you have any final thoughts before we go?
No, I don't.
Now, okay. I was going to say, would you ever want to talk about sports? Because there's a lot going on in the sports world today.
Yeah, I'm always up for. I used to be a sports editor. Well, spent most of my career doing that, so I'm always up for talking sports. Yeah.
Well, from now on, let's have a little. Maybe we'll reserve a little segment at the end for sports.
Yeah, yeah. No, that sounds good. That sounds good. My Atlanta Braves, their big time rookie player Ronald Acuna hit a home run for the 5th straight game last night. So he became the youngest player in Major League Baseball history to homer in 5 straight games, and he's got 8 home runs in his last 8 games.
Wow. Now, what is it about Atlanta with these young stars? Seems like Atlanta has like the record for young baseball players that break records.
Yeah, I don't know. I know just with this recent team, they just basically tore down their team 5 years ago or so, and decided to just kind of tank and build draft picks and trade their players for young prospects and stuff like that. And so it's finally all coming to fruition this year. They're kind of a year or so ahead of schedule. Nobody really expected them to be good this year, and they're actually 2 games ahead of the Phillies for first place in the NL East. So
it sounds a lot like when the Cubs won the World Series. My Cubbies,
yeah,
they were a little bit. They'd done the same thing, and they were about a year ahead of schedule.
Yeah. It is kind of a pretty similar model. The only real difference is there's a couple of differences. The Cubs went out and signed John Lester, and so he was kind of a big part of all that. The Braves really didn't go get any free agents. They've got some money coming up that they might spend this offseason. I really don't think they will. They're owned by a corporation, Liberty Media, that's based out of Colorado. They got the Braves basically just as an asset from Turner. When Turner Broadcasting sold them, they basically like owed Liberty a bunch of money. And so they're like, here's some stocks in the Braves. We'll give you the Braves too. So
it's amazing how much money can be made from a sports team, though. Like somebody was telling me the other day about the Browns. Whoever bought the Browns,
right,
bought them like dirt cheap.
Yeah,
and has doubled they have doubled, the revenue since they bought them like 3 years ago. And it's not like, well, I mean, the Browns are starting to look a little better, but it's not like you have to make them a Super Bowl or what is
a contender?
Yeah,
right. Yeah, and that's, I think, part of the reason that you see so many teams that just go on terrible endlessly. It's it's a combination of stuff, and sometimes it's just people who care but don't know what they're doing. But a lot of times it's just owners that they want to own a team, and they just kind of like having it as part of their life, and it makes money for them. And, there's not like a real incentive to make them a contender.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, and that concludes our sports section of reverse redacting sports. All right, man. Well, have a wonderful day. And to those of you out there listening, have a great day. Don't don't take your face for granted, and try not to. I got nothing. We'll see you guys on the airwaves of the internet. I better end this.
Yeah, it's time to end. This is slowly deteriorating, or rapidly deteriorating.